All right, back with another predictions as to what's going to happen, who's going to make the playoffs now after Week 15. Only 3 weeks left. What you see on the screen is my predictions for every single game left here. So if you're interested in knowing why one team got a specific record, well, you can go back to the video at the beginning and look at it here. But anyways, let's just get into my predictions. So right off the bat, this is the AFC. We're going to start off with the AFC, and you might notice one surprise at the 4 seed. But let's start from the top. I still have the Chiefs as the 1 seed, although again, are in danger of potentially falling out of that spot. If they, for example, lose to Seattle next week and everything else goes as planned, then they would not be in the 1 seed anymore. It would actually be Cincinnati, who is very much, still alive for the 1 seed there. Buffalo also still definitely has a chance. It would those two would come down to, I have Buffalo losing a game. They're the only team out of the top 3 seeds I have losing. I have them losing week 17. However, if everything else is the same and they win that game, then they would be the 1 seed. Yes, I have Jacksonville here in the 4 seed. We can get maybe more on that once we get to the full list, but it would come down to that final Tennessee game week 18 as to who I think would win. And as of right now, it's hard to bet against Jacksonville in that spot. I had the Chargers here at the 5 seed. Big win for the Chargers. I think it's also one of those situations where the Chargers have continuously looked better week after week. So I've had them missing the playoffs before. I believe last week I had them missing the playoffs. Now I had them jumping all the way up to the 5 seed, going 11-6. So comfortably in the playoffs. In fact, every team here that I have making the playoffs is 11-6. Miami I have as the 6th seed, and I still have Baltimore here. I think Baltimore seems to be in a good spot. Let's look at the whole chart now. So this is every team in the AFC, of course. So I do have the Jets, really kind of struggling down the stretch. I've kind of gone back and forth as to what, you do here, but I had them losing to the Dolphins week 18. Who knows? Maybe Miami will have, the playoff hopes locked up at that point, and you can potentially win that one. But you would actually probably need another win in this scenario. I really think that they might have to win out to get to the playoffs. I do have them, if they win out, they would be in if everything else is the same. The Dolphins would be out in that scenario. So there's even a scenario where week 18, Jets-Dolphins could be for a playoff spot, but have to be the Jaguars next week to make that happen. And I have the Patriots. I think they had to win this one. I think they're done at this point. Raiders, I still don't have really getting anywhere in the AFC West. Over to the AFC North, there is still some hope for Cleveland, but I don't think a lot. I think the main way that they could get in would be like if Baltimore, for example, just completely bottoms out and loses every game down the stretch, which I have them going 2-1. And then if Cleveland can pick up another win, maybe against Washington, which I have them losing towards, then they could get in. It's possible, but it seems unlikely. And for Tennessee, Jacksonville versus Tennessee, it really probably will come down to that week 18 matchup at this point because Jacksonville is just 1 game out currently. And it's worth mentioning that they have the tiebreaker. So as of right now, they control their own destiny. Both teams control their own destiny. And Jacksonville has an easier schedule down the stretch than Tennessee does. So even in this scenario, what I have, 1 game can even go the other way as long as it's not Jacksonville's win week 18. The reality is it's probably going to be a winner goes to the playoffs in week 18, which would be very fun. Heading over to the next chart, this is the first time of the year that I have the New York Football Giants in the playoffs. But again, seeds 1 through 5 have been unchanged since I've been doing this video, and I think that they probably will be unchanged. I feel pretty confident it will be 1 through 5, probably in this order. There is a chance that I could see Minnesota falling out and going to the 3 seed and those two being flipped, but that seems like the only thing that's up in the air. All that would have to happen is the Vikings lose 1 more game, and that would happen, although are the Vikings going to lose 1 more game? Listen, it's possible with the Vikings, but they play the Giants next week, which I think you expect to be a win. Then they play the Packers and the Bears. Feel pretty good. They could go 3-0. Those 1 through 5 probably will be the case. The other one you could argue me out of potentially is Tampa Bay, but their schedule gets very easy from here on out. Although again, is it possible they could miss the playoffs? Sure, it's possible, although tough loss for the Panthers. Really what has to happen now is I had the Buccaneers beating the Panthers week 17, so that's a game that now would have to flip for the Panthers to make the playoffs. I also have them losing to the Lions next week. They'd probably have to win that one as well, realistically, or get a Buccaneers loss against Atlanta or against Arizona, which maybe that's actually more likely. I think would be the case is probably you're looking at Tampa Bay, beating them week 17, and then maybe Tampa Bay loses to Atlanta week 18. That would get you in at 10-7. That might be your easiest pathway to a playoff spot. I don't think we have to spend too much time on the 49ers and Cowboys. I think we get that. The Lions, I do have in a playoff spot, and relatively comfortably in a playoff spot. Even if they lose one game that I have them winning, they would still be getting in. Although if they lose 2 games, then that's where the issue is. So there's a bit of a cushion here for the Lions as well here. There isn't that much of a cushion for the Giants, although a bit of one. It actually comes kind of the other way. The Giants could lose their week 18 matchup against the Colts. That would put them below 500 at or actually put them right at 500 at 8-1. Also, excuse me, that's week 17, not week 18. But again, point still stands. If they lose that game, they still could be in. The difference is going to be with Seattle. Seattle, I have only going 1-2 down the stretch. But for example, if they can pull off a victory against the Jets, that'll be week 17, and maybe they can get some help with a Giants loss somewhere, like, again, losing to the Colts, for example. That would be enough to put Seattle in, or maybe Seattle can shock the world and beat the Chiefs next week, but feels pretty good about the Giants now. They won the game they had to against Washington. This is the full list. So again, Washington, tough loss here, as not only do you lose to the Giants, but you also lose the tiebreaker now because of that. So that puts you behind the Giants relatively significantly, and you're probably going to need, one loss that I have flipping over the other way. But I don't know. That means you have to beat either Dallas. Maybe it's week 18 and they'll rest their starters. I don't know. But either Dallas or San Francisco, you would have to beat in this scenario. And you would have to, again, get the Giants to probably lose against the Colts that week 17 matchup to find a way to get into the playoffs. So that was a tough loss. That's going to make it difficult to get in, but not impossible. Going over to the NFC West, Seattle, you still do have a chance, right? If you win out here, 10-7 will definitely get you in, but are you going to win out? Their schedule's tough here. You got Kansas City. I don't know if they're going to win that one. The Jets, which I have them losing to week 17, is a potential win. You can potentially swing that around. Again, maybe the Giants lose in that scenario. That would put you at 9-8. The Giants are, I think I might have said it wrong earlier on, but that would put the Giants at 8-1, which would mean that the Seattle Seahawks would get in that scenario. So you need a couple things to go your way, but it's not that out of the question, but definitely you have an uphill battle. As for the rest of the league, it kind of talked about how Carolina could get in here. I think it's going to be tough for Atlanta or New Orleans, even though they have the same record as Carolina, just because the one thing Carolina has over those two teams is a tiebreaker. So for Atlanta and New Orleans, they have to make up 2 games in the final 3 weeks of the season. One, Tampa Bay has a really easy schedule, which, again, they could blow it, but still, that's going to be a bit difficult. But for Carolina, only having to make up 1 game against the Buccaneers when you play the Buccaneers, that feels a little bit more achievable, even if the schedule thing makes it a little bit more difficult. So there's hope for Carolina. There is. As for the rest, not really much hope here. Although one thing that I think is also worth noting in this spot is that I just decided to play it out and to see what happened if Green Bay wins out here. They have 4 games left because I'm recording this before the Monday night game. But if they were to win out, that would actually put them at 9-8 and enough to make the playoffs, as crazy as that sounds. So there is a opportunity for the Packers to still make the playoffs. It's just it's going to be very unlikely. Actually, the Lions would be out in that scenario. So, hey, can't count them out just quite yet. If they beat the Rams, they're one step further. But again, tough schedule. They played the Dolphins the next week. Then they played the Vikings following that. And they played the Lions week 18. Like, kind of murderer's row there for Green Bay. They put themselves in too much of a hole probably. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it, and also kind of, again, breaking down the situation, right? I like doing these videos because I can kind of figure out, okay, this is what these are what these teams are looking at and what they need to have happen and all that stuff. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.